Good morning, everybody, on the Forged Man Brotherhood Summit. Welcome in. Thank you for being here with me today. We're going to give it just a second and let a few people join on here, and then we'll get started. And it looks like, give me just a second. I'm going to silence that. All right, let's get started. Imagine a world where all men, all men were truly created equal. What would that look like? I want you to think about that today as we talk. I want you to think about how different our world would look if we truly prioritized mental health. We're going to talk about it on the men's side of things today a little bit, but we're also going to talk about how early intervention is going to play a major key. I also want you to remember what this sweater says as we talk, that you are enough. Addressing mental health is a key. Thank you for being here with me this morning. My name is Kaden Mattinson, and I am excited to be here with you this morning presenting on the Forge Man's Brotherhood Summit. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can forge positive mindset and help yourself create a healthy future. Now, if you're hearing me okay right now, if you're on here and listening, I want you to go ahead and type mindset into the chat. If you're doing this after the fact, if you're watching, please still leave that comment mindset so that I know that you were on here and you were able to hear it. As the parent of a child with mental health concerns, I learned very, very early on that I had not attacked my own negative mindset, my own negative thought patterns, my own negative mentality growing up, which is totally normal. That's totally normal for today's society. But I took a moment in my own life, a dark moment that was in my daughter's journey. And I realized that I had to make some serious changes for myself, for my family, for everybody around me, my friends, so that we could work on my child's mental health concerns. Navigating a nonprofit organization while dealing with your own mental health concerns is a bit of a challenge. If you've ever done that, it can be a little bit stressful. Having to try to undo 30 years of mental anguish, mental strife, and having to focus on how to support not only my business, but my friends, my wife, my kids, my family. I had to figure out how to handle that mindset issue, how to handle my own mental chaos so that I could address the needs of my children and my family. That's not an easy process, as you can imagine it. And I want you to think back in a time in your own life where you were forced to realize that you needed to address your own mental health. Do you remember looking back? Do you remember thinking just how far back these roots go? Probably not. Why? Because as a society, we have trained men to believe that our mental health is the last priority that needs to be addressed. But in order to support our wives, in order to take our stand for ourselves, for our children, for our friends, especially your friends, because usually they're the ones that have your back most of all, we have to do something to address that mindset issue. And I know it's not an easy thing to do. And so when we talk about how to change that and how to attack those issues, we need an easy process. We need something to look at that breaks it down into simple steps. I'm a simple person. I like things broken down. I can follow directions pretty easy, but generally I'm going to take those directions and make them my own. And I want you to do that with what we talk about today. To understand how to obtain a positive mindset, first we must understand what a positive mindset is. Because all too often people think, positive mindset is just thinking positively about whatever it is that's come up. And you're right to a degree, but it's a little bit deeper than that. So, if you are ready to hear how simple of a definition we can get and how easy it is to fix our mindset, I want you to type positivity in the chat right now. Drop positivity in there for me if you're seeing this. And I'm getting a notice that it's the quality is a little bit slow. So if it's not coming through quite clearly, go ahead and let me know, and I'll try to get that addressed. But let's talk about it. The simplest definition out there for positivity and a positive mindset is viewing the world as a canvas of growth. Even in the darkest moments of your life, being able to look at those moments, seeing the positive side of things, the good that can come from it, and even in the darkest moments, seeing the good that is in it, right? Because too often we get into those dark moments, we get into the worst, and then we start getting stuck in that rut. Being able to see the light in that is what's going to change that mindset. That's what's going to change that focus. It's difficult. We talk at length about we need to improve men's mental health. We talk about the need to change mental health as a society. But we miss how important it is not to just clump mental health in, but to address the mindset side of it first. If you do not address your mindset first before attacking mental health, you're not going to hit the target. That is the number one most important change that you need to make in your mental health journey. Without fixing that mindset, being a truly amazing human being will not make your mental health better. As a matter of fact, it's nearly impossible. So, let's talk about that a little bit. When should we address the mental health issue? When should we start addressing and teaching mindset control? Well, I want to know how early you think we should address. So, in the chat with me right here, I want you to let me know how early you think we should address mental health. Do you think it should be as a teenager? Do you think it should be as an adult that we should address it? Leave a comment in the chat for me. But most commonly, we hear things from society here in the organization as things like, I don't want to start addressing my kids' mental health. They can wait till they're a teenager till they can understand it. We can wait till I'm an adult so that I have the ability to comprehend what's happening. We're finding that this is not the case. Matter of fact, top psychologists through the United States have actually found that the earlier we begin to identify mental health concerns, the more successful we are in the treatment of those concerns. So if we start identifying major mental health concerns as early as kindergarten and preschool, if they start to show some signs, there are things like autism, like ADHD, like anxiety, that we can see the warning signs in those very, very, very early on, early as 5 and 6 years old. And we need to start teaching how to address positive mindset during that period. I want you to think about your own journey. If you would have been introduced to mental health treatment, to how to think about society and situations around you, where would you be today? How would your ability to cope be handled today? If you're like me, looking back, I definitely know that in elementary school, there was some obvious signs. There were some definite warning signs that I should have been addressing mental health. But we didn't know. We didn't talk about it back then. And if you look at society today and you look at everybody can identify that homelessness is a big problem. We have a lot of different other issues that are a big problem in society. Now, drug abuse, number one, we know is a big problem. How many of those problems do you think we could have addressed if we would have addressed mental health starting in elementary school? We're actually finding that that number would be significantly lower. And if you were taught how to properly address your mindset at an early age, then your mental health is going to benefit from that. Your focus, your ability to understand the problems and the world around you. But then not only that, but there's a lot of other things that come from mental health. Your relationships, number one. We're finding that men, we struggle with our relationships when things get rough. We struggle when things start to spin around us because we are the problem solvers. We are the ones that are supposed to be there to fix the problem. But we're missing the point. The point is we need to address ourselves before we are in any position to help anybody else. And I want you to listen very closely when I tell you that anger in itself is not innately bad, but anger is the most common response when it comes to outside stimuli in men. And I want you to understand that anger is not a bad thing. It's frustrating. It's hard to get past that need to shell and that need to protect. But honest truth, it is okay. I want you to know that learning how to handle your emotions, learning how to process through them, can still happen as an adult. And we're going to talk about some easy steps to process through your mindset and to train yourself to be better. Before your next rejection, before your next trigger that spins you into this anger cyclone, I want you to practice these easy steps. I want you to think about it while you are in a clear mind, while you are calm, and can think about things straight so that you're not in that chaos and in that moment. Let's use an example that I've used many times. Let's say that you just got rejected for something major in your life. You got rejected for the job. You got rejected for the house you were trying to buy. You got rejected by your dream girl you were chasing after, and it just didn't work out. Whatever those scenario is, whatever it is that you want to create in your mind, you got rejected. I want you to then process through it with 4 steps. Number one, the one most common thing we always miss as men is take a deep breath. I know earlier on another topic was deep breathing and how breath work can actually help us clear our mind and have solid mental health. And that was perfect. It was amazing. We as humans, but also as men, we do not take time to breathe. We don't take time to relax through things. And it gets in our way, honestly. We know that we're the fixers. So we need to do the process and we need to fix things. But first, very first, you need to take time to breathe. Then number 2, how often in your life do you have something happen and you don't acknowledge it? You don't see it for what the problem it is. You just know that there was a problem, whatever it was, and now I need to fix it. I know it sounds redundant. Obviously, you can see it. It just happened. But in every 12-step program, do we know why they say that you need to acknowledge and identify the problem first and foremost? That's because if you can't acknowledge it, you can't fix it. If you don't know what the problem is, you can't address it. So first, you need to take a breath. Then you need to acknowledge the problem. You need to admit it out loud. I don't care if you put it on paper. I don't care if you say it verbally. You need to admit it. Then, step number 3, we need to write it out. We need to write out our plan. I don't care if you do it on in your head, if you do it on your phone, right? Everybody's got one of these. Write it down on your notes. Write it down on a piece of paper. Write down your steps on what the issue is and how you're going to address it. How often do we think things through like that as men? We don't. We rush to get things done. We've got to get the problem fixed now. But we really need to slow it down. If we could slow it down, it's going to remove the anger problem. Step number 4 is, I think, in my opinion, the hardest step. I come up with a plan. It works really well. But step number 4 is the one that really gets me every time. Accept it. Acceptance is key. You don't have to accept the outcome. You don't have to accept the future result. But you do need to accept that the rejection or the problem happened. It's a step in your life. It's a step in the right direction. So you need to accept it before we can fix it. If we do those 4 things, then you're going to find that it's easier to work through it. Once we work through it, once we figure out, okay, this is my steps, in every step that you write on that process, I want you to write or think of a positive outcome of each step on your list of how you wrote that you're going to identify that issue. The more that we can teach ourselves these techniques, the more we can teach our children these techniques. The more we can teach our friends, our family, these so simple steps. The more that we see the light at the end of the tunnel, the easier it's going to be to resolve our problems. If we can address that, we can then go into mental health and identify the root of whatever it is, whatever, if it's the anger, if it's depression, anxiety, any of that can be addressed, but it cannot be addressed until we address mindset first. There are many, many, many good programs out there that teach resilience, they teach mindset, they teach how to focus on just the positive of things and removing that negativity out of the way. If you are looking for some direction, you can always find programs in your area. I highly recommend working with a coach, working with somebody who can break it down for you in easy steps like I just did. It is so vital as men for us to learn how important mindset is. Positive mindset. Sitting in that negative cycle, spinning around in it, looking at what possibly could happen, looking at what the worst scenarios are. It's not doing anything to better our anger, our mindset, or anything. And that is where we need to start. Thank you so much for being here, for listening. I appreciate you so much for having me on this. Steve, this was a pleasure. I'm so excited. If you would like any more information, you can find me right here on all the socials. I'm here on Facebook under Kaden Mattinson. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, anything like that. I'm on every social. Please reach out. If you have any other questions, I'd love to walk you through this more. I would love to talk to anybody who has more questions on this information. Thank you again. Please enjoy your Christmas holiday. You guys, it is the end of the year. We made it. We're here. But this is the hardest time of year for men. This is the hardest time of year for most people. So please reach out. If you need help, if you are struggling, reach out. You can always reach out to me. You can find me here on socials. You can also reach out to 988 if you are struggling. They're more than happy to walk you through and help you identify how to address those issues. You can get on, you can talk with Safe Talk. If you're here in Utah, they've got a great program as well. But please know that you are enough and that you are not alone in this fight. Together, we can address men's mental health. Together, we can address mental health in this country, and we can be the best country and the best humans that we can possibly be. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful week, wonderful weekend. I look forward to hearing from you more. Stay safe.